I defended my little sister and got a creepy recruiter fired in less than a day, from shy engineer to protective avenger. This happened over 6 years ago, so I'm a little fuzzy on all of the details, but it is one of my proudest moments. Looking back now, I still remember how my hands were shaking as I typed that email to HR, but I'm getting ahead of myself. I am 8 years older than my sister Emma, and although we didn't live in the same town anymore by the time she graduated high school, I was so excited for her to attend university because she applied for the same program as I did in engineering. Knowing Emma, she was gonna freaking kill IT in a way I never could. Our parents had always joked that while we looked identical, same auburn hair, same green eyes, we couldn't be more different in personality. I am shy, awkward, and overall non-confrontational. Emma is fierce, charming, and never backs down from a fight. Our brother Jake in the middle is a perfect mix between these traits. I still remember when Emma was in 3rd grade and some kid was bullying Jake on the playground. She marched right up to the kid, who was 2 grades above her, put her hands on her hips, and declared that if he ever came near her brother again, she'd make sure his Pokémon cards mysteriously ended up in the school fountain. The kid never bothered Jake again. That's just who Emma is. She's always been the protector, the fierce one, the one who would stand up to anyone. Which is why when she called me that day, crying and scared, it hit me even harder. Emma doesn't get scared. Emma doesn't back down. For someone to reduce my fearless little sister to tears. Well, that was enough to make even my conflict-avoiding self see red. But let me back up a bit. When Emma told me she was traveling down south for a conference related to a potential major in mechanical engineering, the same program I'd done, I was really excited for her. The conference was being held in Atlanta, and it was going to be her first time traveling alone for anything professional. The night before she left, we had a long video call where I helped her pack. Emma, you can't wear your engineers do it with precision t-shirt to a career fair, I remember telling her as she held up the shirt our dad had gotten her as a joke graduation present. But it's funny. She protested, grinning that infectious grin of hers. And technically accurate. Save it for the after party, I advised, making her laugh. Stick with the blazer and blouse combo mom helped you pick out. We spent almost 2 hours going over everything: how to give a proper handshake, firm but not crushing, how to present her resume, always have extra copies, and how to navigate the overwhelming experience that is your first career fair. I even made her practice her elevator pitch while I pretended to be various company representatives. Hi, I'm Emma Sullivan, a freshman in mechanical engineering at. She started for the 5th time. Perfect. But maybe don't twirl your hair while you're talking. It can be distracting, I suggested. She rolled her eyes at me. You're worse than mom. Someone has to be, I shot back, and we both laughed. The conference itself was a 3-day affair at one of those massive hotels with crystal chandeliers and carpet patterns that make you dizzy if you look at them too long. Emma had texted me pictures when she arrived, her tiny dorm room suitcase looking out of place next to the sleek luggage of business professionals, her wide-eyed selfie in front of the welcome banner, and a snap of her conference badge that read Emma Sullivan, student member. The first day went great. She called me that evening, practically bouncing with excitement as she told me about the keynote speaker, a woman who had pioneered new techniques in aerospace engineering. She actually talked to me after her presentation, Emma gushed. She said my questions were insightful. Me? A freshman? That's why when she called me the next day, the difference in her voice sent chills down my spine before she even explained what had happened. Sarah. Her voice was small, nothing like her usual confident tone. Something weird happened at the career fair. I immediately minimized the CAD design I'd been working on at my desk. What's wrong? That's when she told me about him. The man from Maxwell Industries, one of the bigger engineering firms in the Southeast. He'd been working their recruitment table, and at first, everything seemed normal. He'd been impressed by her resume, which, yes, was unusual for a freshman, but Emma had done some impressive robotics work in high school that made her stand out. He said my project on automated sorting systems showed real promise, she explained, her voice trembling slightly. And then he pulled me aside to talk more about opportunities at Maxwell. I felt my stomach tighten. Pulled you aside how? Like, literally pulled me. He had his hand on my elbow and just kind of steered me away from the main area. She paused, and I could hear her taking deep breaths. At first I thought maybe this was normal. Like, maybe he just wanted to have a more in-depth conversation away from the noise. Then what happened? I asked, already knowing I wasn't going to like the answer. She told me how he'd asked which hotel she was staying at. When she nervously mentioned she was staying at the conference hotel, he'd suggested taking her to dinner that evening to discuss her future at Maxwell. And then, my blood ran cold when she told me this part. He'd reached out and stroked a strand of her hair, commenting on how professional she looked. At this point in telling me the story, Emma started crying. My little sister, who once faced down a neighbor's aggressive German shepherd without flinching when it got loose in our yard, was crying because some creep had made her feel unsafe at what should have been an exciting professional opportunity. "He has my resume," she whispered. "With my phone number. He texted me earlier saying he was in the hotel lobby." I gripped my phone so hard my knuckles turned white. "What did you say to him?" "Nothing." I didn't respond. "I've been hiding in my room since the career fair ended. Sarah, I'm scared to go down to dinner. What if he's still there?" "Is there anyone else from your university at the conference?" I asked, already pulling up my email. "Yeah, there's a senior named Madison who's been really nice to me. We had breakfast together this morning." "Okay, text Madison right now. Ask if you can get dinner with her. Don't go anywhere alone." I was already grabbing my purse, ready to drive the 6 hours to Atlanta if I had to. "What's this guy's name?" "Robert Kendall," she said. "He's their senior recruitment specialist, at least that's what his card says." I wrote the name down, along with Maxwell Industries. "Send me a picture of his business card if you have it." She did, and I saw red again when I noticed he'd written his personal cell number on the back with a winky face. A winky face. To my 18-year-old sister. "Emma, listen to me," I said, trying to keep my voice calm and steady. "You did nothing wrong. Absolutely nothing. This man is being incredibly inappropriate and unprofessional. This is not normal networking behavior, and you have every right to feel uncomfortable." She sniffled. "But what if I misread the situation? What if this is just how things work in the industry and I'm being too sensitive?" "No," I said it more forcefully than I meant to, but I needed her to hear this. "I've been in this industry for 8 years now. I've been to dozens of career fairs and networking events. What he did was completely inappropriate. Period." "I don't want to go to any more career fairs," she whispered. "How am I supposed to know who's actually interested in my work and who's just being creepy?" That's when I knew I had to do something. The thought of my brilliant, passionate sister being scared away from opportunities because of one predatory creep. It was unacceptable. "I'm going to take care of this," I told her. "For now, stick with Madison, keep your door locked, and ignore any messages from him. I'll call you back in a few hours." After we hung up, I stood up from my desk and walked straight to my boss's office. Linda looked up from her computer as I knocked on her door frame. "Sarah. Everything okay? You look like you're about to commit a murder." "I need to take the first half of the day for a personal matter," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. "It's about my sister." Linda's expression immediately softened. She knew how close I was with my siblings, she'd seen the photos on my desk and heard enough stories. "Of course. Is she all right?" "She will be," I said firmly. "Once I'm done dealing with this." Back at my desk, I pulled up LinkedIn and searched for Robert Kendall from Maxwell Industries. There he was, graying hair, practiced smile, wearing a golf polo in his profile picture. He looked older than our dad, just like Emma had said. His profile listed him as having been with Maxwell for over 30 years before semi-retiring to focus on recruitment. The rage building in my chest had a face now. I took a deep breath and called our HR department. Melissa, our HR director, picked up on the second ring. "Melissa. Hi, it's Sarah from engineering. I need some advice about reporting inappropriate behavior at a career fair." Melissa was fantastic. She listened to the whole story, her tone growing increasingly concerned. "This is completely unacceptable behavior," she said when I finished. "If one of our recruiters did something like this, they'd be terminated immediately. You need to report this to Maxwell's HR department right away." Do you want me to help you draft the email? I accepted her help gratefully, and together we composed a detailed, professional email that outlined exactly what had happened. We included the date, time, and location of the incident, Robert Kendall's name and position, and a clear description of his inappropriate behavior. We emphasized that this had happened at an official career fair where he was representing Maxwell Industries, and that his victim was an 18-year-old student attending her first professional event. Should I mention that he's been texting her? I asked Melissa. Absolutely. That shows a pattern of harassment and proves this wasn't just a one-time lapse in judgment. We finished the email, and I added my contact information at the bottom. My hand hovered over the send button for just a moment before I clicked it. While I waited for a response, I couldn't focus on work. I kept thinking about Emma, about how excited she'd been for this conference, about how this creep had taken that excitement and turned it into fear. I thought about how many other young women might have had similar experiences with him. The thought made me feel sick. The call from Maxwell's HR department came faster than I expected. The woman on the phone introduced herself as Patricia Martinez, Head of Human Resources. Ms. Sullivan, thank you for bringing this to our attention, she said, her voice grave. I want you to know we're taking this extremely seriously. Can you tell me again exactly what happened? I repeated the story, my voice shaking slightly with suppressed anger. Patricia made small sounds of acknowledgement as I spoke, and I could hear her typing in the background. And you said he sent text messages to your sister's phone? Yes. She has screenshots. Would she be willing to share those with us? I texted Emma quickly and got an immediate response. Yes, she'll send them to whatever email address you provide. Patricia sighed heavily. Ms. Sullivan, I want to be transparent with you. This is not the first concern we've had about Mr. Kendall's behavior at recruitment events. But previous instances have been more ambiguous, and without concrete evidence. And now you have evidence, I finished for her. Yes. And text messages sent to a student's personal phone number. That crosses a line that makes our course of action very clear. She paused. Would your sister be willing to make a formal statement? I asked Emma, but she was still too shaken. Not right now, I told Patricia. She's still at the conference and feeling very vulnerable. I completely understand. Please let her know that she can contact me directly if she changes her mind, but we have more than enough to act on already. Patricia's voice hardened slightly. Mr. Kendall's contract with Maxwell Industries will be terminated, effective immediately. We'll also be reviewing our recruitment practices and implementing additional training and supervision requirements. By early afternoon, I received an email confirming that Robert Kendall had been let go from Maxwell Industries. The email thanked me for bringing this to their attention and assured me that steps were being taken to prevent similar incidents in the future. I leaned back in my chair and let out what can only be described as a cackle of satisfaction. Linda stuck her head in my office. Should I be concerned about that sound? I grinned at her. Justice has been served. I called Emma immediately. When I told her what had happened, there was a moment of stunned silence. They fired him. Just like that? Just like that, I confirmed. Apparently you weren't the first, just the first one whose sister was angry enough to do something about it. She was quiet for a moment. I can't believe you did that for me. Of course I did that for you. No one messes with my little sister. I paused. How are you feeling? Better, she said, and I could hear the relief in her voice. Madison and I are going to go to the evening networking session together. There's a woman from Boeing I really want to talk to. That's my girl, I said proudly. Remember what I said, being pulled aside to discuss opportunities isn't inherently bad. What that man did was the exception, not the rule. Don't let him take away your confidence. I won't, she said firmly, and I could hear the old Emma coming back. Besides, now I know that if anyone tries anything sketchy, my big sister will destroy them. We talked for a while longer about what to look out for when networking, red flags to watch for, but also positive signs that someone is genuinely interested in mentoring or recruiting. I told her about my own early career experiences, both good and bad, and how to trust her instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is, I advised. Don't worry about being polite or professional if someone is making you uncomfortable. Your safety is more important than their feelings. The rest of the conference went smoothly. Emma met several legitimate recruiters and made some valuable connections. She even got a lead on a summer internship with a robotics company, though she'd have to wait until she had a year of college under her belt before she could apply. Looking back now, 6 years later, I'm amazed at how that moment changed both of us. Emma went on to absolutely crush it in her academic career, just like I knew she would. She got her bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering, then went straight into a master's program with a focus on robotics and automation. Throughout her college years, she did internships and co-op positions at both startups and major companies, building an impressive resume that had nothing to do with creepy old men and everything to do with her brilliant mind and fierce work ethic. These days, she's working at an innovative startup that's developing assistive robotics technology for people with mobility issues. She's the youngest member of their core engineering team, but from what she tells me, she holds her own just fine in technical discussions. She still calls me sometimes for advice, but now it's about things like negotiating salary increases or managing team dynamics. Jake, our middle sibling, likes to tease me about the whole incident. Who knew our shy big sister had it in her? He'll say at family gatherings, "Remind me never to get on your bad side." As for me, I'm still shy, still awkward, and still generally non-confrontational. I still prefer to solve problems through careful discussion rather than confrontation, and I still get anxious about speaking up in big meetings. But that day taught me something important. Being non-confrontational doesn't mean being passive, especially when it comes to protecting the people you love. Emma framed the email from Maxwell Industries' HR department confirming Kendall's termination. It hangs in her home office now, next to her degrees and professional certifications. When I asked her why, she said it reminds her that she doesn't have to fight all her battles alone. The engineering world can be tough for women sometimes, especially young women just starting out. There are still Roberts out there, men who see a young woman's enthusiasm for technology as something to exploit rather than encourage. But there are also people like Patricia from HR, like Madison who looked out for my sister at the conference, like the woman from Boeing who ended up becoming one of Emma's mentors. And yes, there are people like me, the quiet ones, the conflict avoiders, the ones you might not expect to make waves. But mess with our family. Well, then you'll find out just how fierce we can be. I may be shy, awkward, and relatively non-confrontational. But if you come for my siblings, I go for blood. That's just what big sisters do.